Well, hello there, gang. How are you? Welcome in. My name is Matt Murphy, and we host a gathering from noon until 3, Monday through Friday, at least most Monday through Fridays. We call it the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WT, and I am pleased that you have decided to join us. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're certainly appreciative of it. We've got a full 180 minutes, 3 full hours, and there's lots to discuss. It is a First Amendment Freestyle Friday on the show, meaning that we take all comers. We really take all comers all week long. I mean, let's be honest. You call up, you super text us, and we're going to engage and interact with you. But today, I'll act interested, no matter what you bring to the table, no matter what. You can bring any subject up. Like, for example, Bell K, who is behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. He does a pretty good job with that. He does a few other things right, too. Just bring up a subject. Just bring up any topic, the first topic that comes to mind. Bell K, go.
How great the Detroit Lions are.
Well, they're good. I mean, they were in the NFC Championship game this year, and, I mean, what a comeback for that city. What a moment for that city. What a time to be alive, Bell.
I wasn't that interested.
But see, I acted interested.
You did.
Didn't I?
You very
and
well
I could
did.
give a crap about the Detroit Lions. So you see what I did there? So that's a good example of it. 615-737-9986. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you're certainly invited. It's Friday. That officially kicks off at 1:05 this afternoon. Jay St. Clair will join us. Is there anything going on in the law that we need to talk about? Anything at all? Where do you think, I'm going to give Jay dealer's choice. Where do you think he wants to go first? The Supreme Court arguments regarding Donald Trump and his eligibility to be on the ballot in Colorado, or what happened yesterday with Joe Biden? What do you think?
My personal interest, I think the Joe Biden thing was almost a foregone conclusion. My interest is going to be what he thinks of how the liberal justices even seem skeptical of Colorado's arguments.
Yeah. I'm kind of the flip side of that. I think that what's going to happen at the Supreme Court is almost a foregone conclusion, although I'm interested in what Jay might say about. Jay has some very, very important information to impart to you regarding any attempt to extrapolate where justices are based on the type of questioning they ask, because that is a dangerous game. To try to suggest that you know where a justice's mindset is based on how they ask questions.
It's a tax.
Exactly. It's not a, it's a, what, it was between
it's
a tax.
A fine.
It's not a fine, it's a tax.
It's a tax.
It's a tax. Well, it says fine. Well, it's a tax. But it says fine. But we know what they meant. Let's just eek, 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 eek. Does anybody know what we're talking about?
Put a little white out on that, now we're all good.
Eek, 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 eek. John Roberts, thanks a lot, bud. You know what made that worse? And I remember this. This happened to me in real time. I was on air when CNN screwed that up. They screwed it up. They had runners. What we're referring to, by the way, is the Obamacare decision by the United States Supreme Court, and when Chief Justice John Roberts literally had to change a word in the language of the legislation in order to make it constitutional. And I remember the reporters were anxiously awaiting the decision, and they have runners. So they get the decision, a hard copy of the decision, and then those runners run it outside of the court, and they run it to the producers of the various television programs, and those producers have to, as quickly as they possibly can, look through it, figure out what the decision is so they can get it on air. And on CNN, they screwed it up. They said that they had overturned. For 5 minutes. They had misread it and said that Obamacare had been overturned. And so we went on the air with that. No, CNN's reporting Obamacare's overturned. And then later on we have to come back and go, oh, no, it's not. We screwed up.
Rare mistake by CNN.
A rare error by CNN. I'm a little bit off my game here because Kamala Harris is yelling and screaming and generally being squawky.
I'm speaking.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm speaking.
Yes, she is.
Okay.
She is speaking. She's speaking apparently on CNN right now, saying that the special prosecutor's comments on Joe Biden's memory were gratuitous, inaccurate, and inappropriate.
Joe's response to that was, huh?
What? Huh? What? Who's?
I don't know.
What are you talking about? I don't know what she's talking about. I have something to say about that during the Libertarian lunch. Of course, there's a great deal of reaction to what we broke on our show yesterday afternoon. The news came out yesterday afternoon. Oh, who's calling? Someone's calling. Oh, look, it's spam. You know what? Whoever this spam risk fellow is absolutely wants to talk to me. Sorry, I forgot to turn my silent mode on there. My bad. All right, before I get into Joe Biden and my theory on what's going on with the Department of Justice and Joe Biden, allow me to properly engage in the pleasantries and get those out of the way. So this is the Matt Murphy Show. We're here till 3. Brian Wilson comes up at 3. It's information-fueled and opinion-driven news talk radio for the masses on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You're invited to be a part of the show. I gave you those aforementioned telephone numbers. Use them at your leisure. It is episode 508 of our proceedings today on this Friday, February the 9th, 2024. You may listen on radio. You may carry us wherever you go on whatever social media platform you utilize to carry out music or information or news, podcasts, whatever. We're there. Just type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN and take us wherever you go in your smartphone technology, your laptop, or whatever. And you can also watch on Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. It is up and running. Bell K on a daily basis refuses. I ask him every day, and he refuses every day to be on Supertalk TV. Once again, I say, Bell, will you be on? Nope, not going to do it. We are pretty sure that there are warrants involved. But he does entitle the episodes, and today's episode 508 is entitled
Matt Murphy Show. The Bulldogs are again not in the Super Bowl.
Sad, really.
It is. It's just pathetic. They've never made it, and you just worship that team.
I know you're no longer able to subtitle it the Libertarian Lunch, yada, 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 but you can do that. You can do that on the air. You can continue to hand that little nugget of goodness to the people that are
Libertarian Lunch, noon to 3. Super Bowl food.
So we've got Mac Morey's Friday Mac Attack coming up as well, which it's my understanding we're going to be drafting Super Bowl foods today, right? So any ideas are welcome. I have an ace in the hole that I think is going to be pretty special. It is a card I'm going to play during our Friday Mac Attack draft that I am excited about.
Bud Light?
That's better. That was better than the one I came up with. Mine was just like a veggie tray. You came up with Bud Light. You know what? I don't think you need to draft Bud Light. I think during our Friday Mac Attack draft that you could hold that and you can pick them up later as an undrafted free agent. I don't think anybody else is going to pick up Bud Light. I don't know. Maybe Maury. I don't know. One way or the other, that's up at 2:05 this afternoon. We'll have a little fun with that. Oh, my goodness, there's a lot going on. So you've got Vladimir Putin and Tucker Carlson sitting down for a lengthy and comprehensive interview. We will get into that. Vladimir Putin reveals a couple of things about his feelings, his thoughts, his feelings about why he is engaging in this conflict in Ukraine. Much like we always assumed, Vladimir Putin believes that this is land that rightfully belongs to Mother Russia, which we knew that's what they believed. So we'll delve into that. That's just one little itty-bitty sliver of what was ultimately a two-hour interview between Tucker and Vladimir Putin. I've not made a lot of comments on this because I don't know that there's a lot to say about it. I don't idolize Tucker, nor do I demonize him. I think Tucker is one of the most important political voices in America today. And I think it is absolutely important that we allow reporters free and unfettered access to individuals like Vladimir Putin. So as to, even if they say things that make us uncomfortable, we need to hear those things. Far too often in modern times, not just in America but around the world, we run away from or shy away from that which makes us uncomfortable. Why are we doing that? What we ought to do is sit down and recognize it for what it is so that we can better understand it for what it is. And even if we determine that it is an enemy of sorts, whatever it might be, better understanding it is important in order to defeat it. So if you believe, like so many of these mainstream media outlets suggest, if you believe that Vladimir Putin is the enemy, if you believe that Russia is the enemy, why in the world would we not want someone like Tucker Carlson sitting down and exposing the thought processes of the enemy, even if it's propaganda? It makes no difference. Tucker is a is a positive agent of change in that regard. So, I mean, that is beyond debate. And even some in the mainstream media, even leftist media, had to acquiesce to the idea that it is a good thing when reporters have access to even bad people. And this has been a long-standing tradition on the part of the leftist media. They run around idolizing people like Fidel Castro over the years, etc. But suddenly, when a quote-unquote right-wing talk show host or media figure gains access to someone like Vladimir Putin, he's an evil guy and that shouldn't happen. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. And oh, by the way, this is the same guy that was sent a stupid Staples "that was easy" button by Hillary Clinton. Remember that? We're going to send him a reset button. We're going to reset our relate. Oh, my gosh. How embarrassing. Remember that? When she was Secretary of State? She sent them a button. She sent them.
She took it with her and gave it to him.
A reset button. We're going to reset our relations with Russia. And you know what? It's one thing to say that in a stupid press conference. It's another thing to look like a moron and go over there and give it to him. Well, that's what she did. Reset our relationship with Russia. Anyhow, we have plenty to say about that. And then there's this. Joe Biden really, 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 really wants you to believe that he's A-OK. President,
where am I? What's going to happen to me?
He lashed out at reporters following an address where he remained defiant after the release of special counsel Robert Hur's damning report that fueled more questions about his mental acuity. At a last-minute press conference held last night, Biden went off script and took questions from reporters, and it didn't end well. Instead of having, and he did so at random, according to several in the room, as opposed to the way that he's always done it, and that is a list of reporters pre-selected by staff. Fox News White House correspondent Peter Doocy was the first to catch Biden's attention. Something the special, well, I'll tell you what, I'll play the clip for you, but I'll read you the transcript now. Something the special counsel said in his report is one of the reasons you were not charged is because in his description, you're a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Biden, I'm well-meaning, I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president, I put this country back on its feet, and I don't need his recommendation. And Doocy interrupted him. How bad's your memory? Can you continue as president? My memory is so bad, I let you speak. Oh, man. I think all of this is a head fake. I think all of this is a head fake. I could be wrong, but I think all of it's a head fake. I have a theory. Call it a conspiracy theory if you must. All of this is designed to get us focused on what the special prosecutor said about his abilities and then their reaction to it, and then our reaction to their reaction to it, and their reaction to. So now you have all of this conversation about, is Joe Biden mentally aware? Is he not? All of this is going to fade away by the time the convention rolls around. I believe that all of this is designed to push us further and further away from the reality that a prosecutor decided to decline to charge a man that he declared was guilty of the crimes that he was set to charge him with.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
I mean, they are in plain sight, and without any attempt to cover it up, they're declaring that there is a two-tier system of justice, that they are willing to raid Mar-a-Lago while Donald Trump was in conversations with the National Archives, while Donald Trump and his people were in conversation. They had already turned over some information. National Archives and other elements of the bureaucracy of Washington, D.C. had decided that they wanted more. They were in the midst of those conversations when armed people with automatic weapons descended upon Mar-a-Lago and raided Mar-a-Lago and went through Melania Trump's panty drawer. They did that. And they justified it by saying the law is the law. And nobody's above the law. Remember? Remember? Nobody's above the law. Even a former president of the United States, they said to us. Now, you have the same Department of Justice. Don't talk to me about a special prosecutor. It's garbage. Well, he had full autonomy, Matt, and this was a... Shut up! You had the same Department of Justice and the same set of circumstances, except this dude was not president of the United States when he hid all this stuff in his house. He was a United States senator and a vice president. Two entities, while strong and powerful in governmental circles, they do not enjoy the same levels of immunity and declassification as a president of the United States of America. And they find boxes of stuff. They find it in places where he promised it never was. They find it in Washington, D.C. They find it at his residence. It's in his garage. It's in his library. It's in his basement den. It's all over the place. They find evidence of Joe Biden sharing classified information with his ghostwriter and others. Nothing. Nothing. The convenient excuse that Joe Biden is a doddering old man that wouldn't be convicted anyway is a head fake. Now, it's important to note that Joe Biden is, in fact, a doddering old man who couldn't find his butt with a flashlight and a compass.
Mr. Wise Guy over here.
And you, sir, are not running the country. And everybody knows it. I don't fault individuals focusing on that aspect of it. I just don't believe that it's the most important aspect of it. And it would not surprise me, and here's the conspiracy part of it, would not surprise me at all if the Biden administration was not fully aware that this was going down and they engaged in the development of this method of dismissing the case. In other words, just say that I did what I did because we can't avoid the true facts. Those will come out, and say that no jury would convict me because I'm so mentally infirm. And that'll get people away from the reality that there is, in fact, a two-tier justice system, and that Democrats get to do what Democrats want to do, and Republicans don't get to do what Republicans want to do. Republicans have to abide by the law, and the Democrats don't. Tell me where I'm wrong. Exactly. Two candidates for president of the United States. One faces charges, the other does not. Forget that one is currently president and the other is a former president. You can't function as a representative republic where the people make the determination as to who they want to govern them. You cannot continue to function with that level of a banana republic running right under the surface. You can't. Once again, tell me I'm wrong. I'm willing to listen. We'll share some of Joe Biden's anger with you in just a moment. Take your telephone calls as well. Mike's already lined up. You can as well. 615-737-9986. It's 1223 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. When it comes to large home repairs, a lot of times homeowners want to pretend that nothing's going wrong with their house. Well, if you've seen the warning signs, don't be afraid to call USS, United Structural Systems. You need to call them as soon as possible. It's especially true when it comes to repairs that you don't understand fully. It could be a small problem now that becomes bigger, or it could be nothing at all. The bottom line is you need to know. You need to have that level of peace of mind, and that peace of mind comes from USS, United Structural Systems. They are a company that's served over 25,000 residential customers in their 30 years of business. When USS comes to your house, you're getting problem solvers. They're never going to try to upsell you on anything. They diagnose the issue that exists, and they solve the problem for you, giving you maximum amount of information so as to make that decision for yourself. USS, they simply are trusted by homeowners throughout Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama, and I encourage you to give them a call. 615-488-7855, 488-7855, USS, United Structural Systems. That's what I get, Bell. When I have a week like I had, I miss out on being in the promo. You hear the promo there? I missed out on. I'll be at the event. I just wasn't in the promo.
I actually asked him if you could record it the next day so you could kind of have a distraction-free show.
Because I had the day off.
And then he goes, well, he's not working tomorrow. Well, don't worry about it. I'll work around him. I mean, I wasn't trying to insult you.
No. I appreciate it. I appreciate Dan and you for understanding. I was out that day. 28 minutes after but I will be at the event. Never you fear. It's at the Nashville Palace. It's coming up Super Tuesday, March 5th at Nashville Palace. Free event. Free to you, free to me. We'll be broadcasting live as opposed to dead, as I mentioned, as the results come in all evening long. Looking forward to that. It's brought to you by the world-famous Glock store at shoot270.com, Busy Bee Plumbing, and Heating and Cooling, and I think there's one other, nutrition.com, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's right. I'll fact-check that. I'll fact-check myself and get back to it. So Joe Biden, this maybe is my favorite reaction. There is nothing more pleasing to me than to listen to MSNBC when Democrats get bad news. And they have been apoplectic, beside themselves, in their spirited defense on how mentally sharp Joe Biden remains. I mean, he's sitting over in a corner pooping his pants, and they're like, oh, he's great. This is great. I mean, it really is the meme where they're sitting around the table, the little dog with the wide eyes, and he's got a cup of coffee, and he's like, this is fine. This is perfectly fine. And the entire room is burning. That's MSNBC right now. This is my favorite. I'll get to your calls in a moment. Here's my favorite.
Along with the standardness of I don't recall is the standardness of prosecutors and or litigators being annoyed by it. And part of the peak that you read in it is that peak, right? I mean, he's frustrated and angry that he didn't get more. Yeah. But the other thing, you mentioned this, we should just be clear here, right? Like, age is the central narrative question here that this all revolves around in terms of its political repercussions, the way the news happened today, the questions being asked him by multiple figures there.
Wait for it now.
And in the end, what makes it such a useful political tool for people that want Donald Trump to be elected or want him not to be reelected is that the fact of his age is not something you can rebut. You can't tack to, if someone says you're too far left, you can tack to the center. The man is 80 years old.
He rides a bike.
He is the age he is.
I don't know why that makes me laugh. I did it last night. It's so funny. He rides a bike. He
can feed himself.
He rides a bike. That's the best you have? The leader of the free world is unfit for office, but he can ride a bicycle. And oh, by the way, he fell off. Last time I saw Joe Biden on a bike, he was falling off of it. He rides a bike. Wearing me out. All right, y'all be patient. Rich and Henry and Tracy and Lindsay, I'll get to you in just a moment. I asked for calls, and I've received them on the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour. It's 12:32. Super Talk 99.7. Yes, Bell.
Just real quickly, do you remember during all the Iran-Contra hearings when Reagan was being grilled about, what he knew and, what was this going on behind your back? And he was constantly saying, I don't remember.
I don't recall.
And the joke was, this guy's an idiot. He has dementia.
Right? Yep.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
And Joe probably does too.
Yeah, he does. I mean, the spirited defense on the part of MSNBC is laughable. He rides a bike. We'll be back in just a sec.
When I said, we pushed all these programs, I said I'm going to be a president of everybody, whether they live in a red state or a green state.
Classified information. I did not share it. With your ghostwriter? With my ghostwriter, I did not. Guarantee.
Did he say girlfriend? It's the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I just slung a couple of hits over the over Queen and bicycle race. He claims he did not share classified information when, in fact, the special prosecutor says he did share classified information. He also said that he was going to be a president.
That was two different subjects, though. The prosecutor was claiming he shared it with his ghostwriter, and Biden saying he didn't share it with his girlfriend.
Does it not sound like he said girlfriend there? Let me play the clip.
Share classified information. I did not share it. With your ghostwriter? With my ghostwriter, I did not. Guarantee you did not.
But the special counsel said in the report that
he did not say that.
Okay.
He did not say that.
But Mr. President,
But he did say
your question. The fact of the matter is, what I didn't want repeated, I didn't want him to know, and I didn't read it to him, was I had written a long memorandum to President Obama why we should not be in Afghanistan, and I was of multiple pages. And so what I was referring to, I said classified. I should have said should be private, because it was a contact between the president and the vice president as to what was going on. That's what he was referring to. It was not classified information in that document.
Okay, so the special prosecutor says that it was classified information in that document. You know, the guy that we empowered with the ability to investigate this situation and find out the truth, that person says that it was classified information. Oh, by the way, this dude said that, you remember when he was interviewed on 60 Minutes with Scott Pelley, and he said that it was shameful that Donald Trump had classified information at all and that he would never do that? I promised I'd get to you, and I will. A lot of you want to speak on this matter. Rich is first up in Hendersonville. Hey, Rich, how are you?
Hi, Matt. That excuse that Biden can't be on trial because he's too feeble and mentally incompetent is pretty much genius, because the entire world can agree with him on that fact.
That's why it feels like a setup to me, that they knew what the Department of Justice was going to go here, and they agreed to it because everyone's going to agree with that, and we move on and we dismiss the sham of the prosecution in as much as he ought to have been charged with something if we don't have a two-tier system of government.
100%. One last thing, Matt. I want to give my empathy for your dog passing. I know how painful that is. And if anyone has ever questions the unconditional love of a dog, and you don't know if your dog loves you more than your wife, you can do the simple thing. You lock them both in a trunk of a car for an hour, and when you open it, notice who's happy to see you.
Yes, it's the difference between unconditional and very, 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 very conditional love. Well spoken, Rich. Thank you for the kind words. You're a very good man. I appreciate you. Henry is next. Speaking of Henry, hey Henry, how are you?
Oh, I'm waking up right now, so I appreciate you taking my call.
Yeah, man.
And I am sorry about your pet. I know how that is. I had one for 19 years. And
wow.
That pet would walk right by my wife, and my wife would call it, and it'd just look up at her and like, who are you? And avoided her, so a little bit of jealousy there, but we all know that. But anyway, my question is, we all know that we're led by a bunch of clowns. Question is, we all have heard a lot of issues about no election for 24. Now then, are you aware that the Supreme Court is, which I'm going by my intel, the Supreme Court is planning on reviewing the Brunson Act?
The Brunson Act?
Yes.
I'm not aware of that.
Ooh. I was told yesterday that they were planning on looking at it today. It's 18 pages. It might be worth some fact check. That would change a lot of views on a lot of things.
All right, forgive my ignorance. What is the Brunson Act?
The Brunson Act was presented to the government.
Is it BRUNSON?
Yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
And what it boils down to is it names, targets, and identifies all the corrupt people in our government and allows the Supreme Court to oust them and reinstate Donald Trump.
Wait. So, Henry, you're suggesting that the United States Supreme Court is deciding whether or not to put Trump back into place?
Yes.
That's not. Well, I don't mean to be dismissive, but I don't think that's true.
Okay.
I know that there was a rumor that was running around last year regarding whether or not the Supreme Court would consider a case to try to reinstate Donald Trump and remove Joe Biden from office, and that rumor was dismissed. But that was like a year ago. And I guess the case is Brunson v. Adams. Is that the case you're referring to?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't. I mean, even if it were true, what good would it do?
Well, if it was instated, which I was told by somebody I know in D.C., that they are getting ready to look at it, the other times it was presented to Supreme Court, they denied watching it and looking at it, investigating it. Because if you look at it and investigate it and go by our constitutional rights, they have no alternative to vote on it, or that tells you where the Supreme Court stands.
Well, I mean, I understand. I understand what you say, but would we not be at this point in an election year? And I'm just me and you talking, Henry. Would we not be better served by doing our dead level best to get to make sure that we have a free and fair election November of 2024, and that we get Donald Trump elected to be the 47th president of the United States of America, as opposed to tilling ground over a very, 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 no offense, flimsy theory that somehow you could remove the sitting president of the United States and replace him with Donald Trump because of malfeasance that happened in 2020. I just feel like that ship has sailed, and we would be better served, regardless of whether you think it should have happened or not back in 2020, 2021, that we would be better served at this point focusing on November of 2024 as opposed to focusing on November of 2020.
I agree.
And just a quick Google search, I don't see any information about Brunson v. Adams coming up before the Supreme Court. The only thing I can find are numerous articles and reports dispelling the idea that the Supreme Court would be willing to hear that case.
Okay, I was just wondering if you'd heard anything, because, like I said, I do have some contacts in D.C., and that individual works for the FBI, so I was told that this week that they are going to review it. All the other times they denied it, which that is self-explanatory. When they don't want to look at it, that they don't want to vote on it.
Brunson v. Adams, was brought forth. Thank you, Henry, for the call. Was brought forth by three brothers who accused 400 members of Congress: Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, and former Vice President Mike Pence, of failing to investigate allegations that the 2020 election was rigged. The plaintiffs called for the removal of Biden and Harris from office. Trump was not specifically named in the lawsuit after an appellate court and a district court dismissed the case. In October of 2022, the plaintiffs filed a petition for the Supreme Court to hear the case. The High Court refused to hear the case in January of 2023. They refused again to hear the case in February of 2023 after a petition for rehearing was filed. This decision was made by the court at that time over a year ago. So suffice it to say, based on a quick Google search. Now, Henry, I'm not suggesting that your source within the FBI might not have some sort of internal or special knowledge, but based on a quick Google search, I can tell you that I believe, as I sit here today at 12:47 on this February 9th, 2024, that your source is wrong. Thank you for the call, though. Tracy is next in Lebanon. Hey, Tracy, how are you?
Hey, Matt, enjoy your show.
Oh, thank you, brother.
I agree with you on that. They need to go back and look at when it was done. When Joe Biden was senator, he was in the right state of mind at the time the incidents were done. Same way as vice president. He wasn't supposed to be allowed to have any classified documents.
Well, here's what it reminds me of, Tracy. Remember the serial killer John Wayne Gacy?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? The guy that dressed up like a clown?
Right.
Like, when they finally caught him, it's like a special prosecutor says, yeah, but, I mean, we feel like he killed 33 guys and he buried most of them under his house, but, look at him. He's a doddering old man. He doesn't remember a lot of things. And, he used to dress up like a clown and make fun at parties and do balloon animals. Nobody's going to convict this guy. I mean, that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I know, but it's no excuse.
No.
He was fully in the full state of mind, and he knew exactly what he was doing.
Well, that's right. And you don't make decisions, and this is where, and we'll talk to Jay St. Clair about it, Tracy, and I appreciate you calling in, and I appreciate you listening, friend. Thank you. You don't make prosecutorial decisions based on the state of mind of the individual right now. You base prosecutorial decisions on what they did then. Unless I'm reading the room wrong, I mean, the prosecution seemed to bend over backwards in order to explain how a jury wouldn't decide certain things about the case. Think about this for a moment. A prosecutor whose job it is to bring a case before a jury and present to a jury the facts of the case and allow a jury to decided for themselves that despite the fact that they had evidence of guilt, that no one would convict Joe Biden because Joe Biden's old and has no memory and is a boob. Once again, I maintain that I believe that it's possible the Department of Justice was colluding with the White House and this was the best out they had. Well, say you're not going to charge him with anything, despite the fact that you should very well charge him with everything. If we have a consistent standard of justice, then you either tell Jack Smith to drop the charges in Florida regarding Mar-a-Lago and some of the classified documents found there, or you charge Joe Biden. You can't have it both ways unless we come up with a reason to have it both ways. And the reason is Joe Biden has no idea what he's doing. Donald Trump's perfectly competent. Joe Biden, not so much. Does that make sense to anyone? I mean, the explanation makes sense, sure. Lindsay's next up in Pleasant Shade. Hello, Lindsay.
Hello, Matt. I wanted to tell you that I appreciated you letting Heidi Campbell have the business last Friday.
Yeah, that was...
Bits. I actually got to see that live. My computer was behaving that day, so I got to see the look on her face, and I was never more proud of you.
Well, that's kind.
You're okay in the cojones department.
Yeah, it was...
something I care about. My son is in 6th grade, and that's my only option is to send him to public school, and he gets bullied, and I'm wondering where that bill is at now.
Where the, they're presenting it. So here's the status of that. And thank you, Lindsay, for the call. You're very sweet. It was a week ago today. It was a week ago right now that I was kicking Heidi Campbell out of the, well, I don't think I kicked her out. I just told her she could leave. I was discussing this last night. I was at an event last evening and talking to a couple of people, and they brought up the Heidi Campbell interview. They're like, "Oh, I loved how you kicked her out." And I said, "Now, wait a minute. I didn't necessarily kick her out of the studio. I told her to leave because she said that she wasn't going to sit there and be called a liar. Well, I wasn't going to stop calling her a liar when I, in fact, knew she was a liar." I don't know why so many people shy away from this. If you say something that you know is not true, Belkay, if I say something that I know is not true at the time that I say it, what does that make me?
A liar.
It makes me a liar. Why are so many people in political circles so afraid of this word?
Because they've become accustomed to being treated with kid gloves and hearing things like "you're not being truthful." You know, there's this disconnect of holding them accountable for what they say and do.
Well, I
just didn't do that.
No, I'm not going to. I'm never going to. All right, in the meantime, there is a White House press conference that's going on right now that I might want to jip. That would be join in progress. The spokesperson for the White House's counsel's office is standing before the podium right now because Karine Jean-Pierre can't do these things herself. She has to have a support group to do it for her. This guy's name is Ian Saris, and he's a spokesperson for the White House counsel office, and he's explaining to us how the President of the United States of America is full within his faculties and did absolutely nothing. Here's the interesting thing. As they argue that the president is perfectly cogent and within his abilities to act as president of the United States, are they not making an argument that Robert Hur should charge him? That's the argument that they're making. I know exactly what I'm doing. I was hiding classified documents. I knew it, and I know it now. Well, then we should charge you. It's 12:53, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, folks, Matt Murphy for the world-famous Glock store. Have you been? Have you seen the incredible showroom? Have you seen the selection? Obviously, there's an incredible selection of Glocks going on, but they also have selections of different types of guns, handguns, long guns. They've got accessories galore. They've got, magazines. They've got ammo. I mean, just anything you need for your Second Amendment protections, they have it. Now, it's February. And I understand that maybe some of you guys with just a few days to go are thinking about what to get the loved one in your life for Valentine's Day. How about a box of ammo? Huh? How about a couple's shooting session in a private room with a personal instructor? How about that? Now, that's a Valentine's Day date. That's a Valentine's Day gift that I can get behind. Candy? No, let's not do candy. Flowers, whatever. I mean, you can do all of that if you want. But if you want to take it up a notch, all February long, couples shoot for the price of one at shoot270.com. That is a private room, a personal instructor, just you and your significant other. Just book a two-person private shooting session at shoot270.com. Show up, have fun, and you pay for one. That's the shooting rooms of shoot270.com only at McGill's world-famous Glock store. They're minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere on Elm Hill, just off of Elm Hill Pike on Air Lane Drive. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the world-famous Glock store. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for Paul Winkler and paulwinkler.com. Be sure to check out Paul's radio show tomorrow. He is bringing on an expert in financial aid to talk about paying for college. The FAFSA has changed drastically this year, so if you have kids nearing college age, you don't want to miss this discussion. They will get into all of the different types of aid and the more common misconceptions about funding. Oftentimes, people think they have more aid than they really do. Paul's show airs Saturday from 3 until 6. You can catch the financial aid discussion in the third hour, 5 until 6. And if you're busy on Saturday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, you can still catch the show by listening to the podcast. Just search Paul Winkler anywhere you get your podcasts. As always, Paul is a fiduciary. I'm required to tell you I'm paid when this ad airs. As a client of Paul's, he's my go-to resource for financial education. As a matter of fact, I was financially educated by Paul for about an hour and a half yesterday. We had a great meeting, a great conversation that I'll tell you about at a later time. Catch him tomorrow from 3 until 6 right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My hair's on fire. My hair's on fire sitting here listening to the lying liars and the lies that they tell. It's 1:05 and a good afternoon. Welcome back. Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So there's a simultaneous argument going on that we are to trust implicitly the Department of Justice. We are to trust special prosecutors. We are to trust that they do their work with diligence, that they tell the truth, that they present the truth that they find, especially when it comes to the guilt of Donald J. Trump. But we are to dismiss everything that this particular special prosecutor says because, well, they don't like what he had to say. They're simultaneously arguing that Joe Biden's memory is just fine, that everything's A-OK, that he knows exactly what's going on, and he did nothing wrong with regard to classified documents, despite the fact that everything in the special prosecutor report indicates that he most certainly did do a lot of things wrong with classified documents. They are literally before our very eyes attempting to have this both ways, where they claim that the prosecution of Donald Trump is right and just, and the lack of a prosecution of Joe Biden for doing precisely the same thing that Donald Trump's accused of is ridiculous and laughable, and it has nothing to do with his memory or lack thereof. They're simultaneously suggesting that the very Department of Justice that they are just today, as I speak, lambasting, is at once above board and interested in justice for all, equal justice for all, and at the same time, they are gratuitous and corrupt, and some of the language used by this special prosecutor in this 400-page some-odd document is salacious and should never have been in there. Okay. So where do we go from here? I don't know. I don't know where this goes from here. You will not see any Democrat. The Democrats circle the wagons better than any other entity in the United States of America. I mean, they do. I don't expect that any Democrat is going to call for invoking the 25th Amendment, although that should be on the table right now. That should be on the table right now. I do not expect that there will be any call to impeach Joe Biden either, in as much as you have precious little time to engage in what is ultimately a political act in a political year. I think you'd be better served in attempting to make sure that the American people are fully and well aware of the inadequacies of their president of the United States as we stand here today. And you have to hope that the American people will vote accordingly. In the meantime, your call's coming up. If you're on hold, bear with me. I know Ricky's there, and we've got somebody online too, because as we do every week at this time, it's 8 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock, and I'm officially here to declare it Friday. I don't know. I don't know if there's enough. I don't know if there's enough legal stuff to talk about. I don't know that we have enough legal conversation to engage in a robust discussion with Mr. St. Clair. I don't know.
Don't worry about it. You just fill time with racing.
Yeah, we can't talk about racing. That's a lot more fun. You know, the Daytona 500 is coming up, Bill. Hey, Jay St. Clair, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Hey, buddy, if I were any better, Matt, I would have been with John Henry when he walked across the rainbow bridge.
Oh.
He was so lucky to find you. And honestly, Matt, you were so lucky to adopt him.
Well, that's exactly right. That was exactly right. It was a tough week, but you remember the 11 years of the good times, and man, oh, man, what a good boy he was. What a good dog he was. And he was lucky to get to meet you, Jay. How about that?
Yeah, no, it was all meant to be. And I don't know how much of the story you've told, but he absolutely hit a home run when you adopted him. He didn't know it, but he came to find that out over the years. And I just love watching you all together, man.
Yeah, well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You're very kind. And just give Olivia a big old hug. I might have a chance to give Olivia a hug myself over in the next 24 hours or so. Who knows?
I was about to say, it might be a group hug.
Well, we'll see about all that. Jay, we have a little side action, a little side bet going on, okay?
I'm not playing the hard ways.
Well, you hadn't had enough liquor to play hard ways. But so here's the side action. It is dealer's choice.
Okay.
Which conversation interests you more? What happened with Joe Biden and the special prosecutor over the last 24 hours, or the arguments being made before the United States Supreme Court regarding Donald Trump in Colorado? Which, I won't even say which interests you more. Which do you want to talk about first?
The second one, I just think there's not much to say about it, Matt. So I picked the first one. Trump's going to win that case. To me, the only open issue in that case is how many judges are going to vote to do that.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a great time for them to issue a per curiam opinion. I know when you love it when I speak to that.
Yeah, you know. He's got a pretty mouth.
I
figured you'd like that.
Oh, wow. You must be from Georgia.
So, yeah, per curia. Is that per the court? What is that?
That's right. It's by the court, which means no judge is the author. It's written by the court. It's not, almost all the opinions or somebody delivers the majority opinion, or even if it's unanimous. One justice authors it.
Mm-hmm.
When they issue a per curiam opinion, it's from the court, all of them. It's like we are all of a like mind. We're so much of a like mind about this that no one of us is going to put our name on it. All of us are.
And it's kind of like they're speaking strongly as a unit of 9.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You said that exactly right. And this would be just a great time for them to do that, but probably won't happen, man. But yeah, Trump's going to win that case.
What do you do you think maybe you might have one or two that veer off the reservation? And
Yep.
Yeah, well.
And it depends on what basis they hold it on. But Roberts is a clever guy, and he might be able to find a way to say, hey, if we base it on this, can you sign on?
Mm-hmm.
And there's there's multiple reasons why Trump's due to win that case, and so he's got a lot of choices. And he might be able to find a reason that all 9 of them could say, all right, I can go with that.
Well, you've taught me over the years, because believe it or not, contrary to what you believe, I actually listen. I listen. I talk for a living, but I also listen a little. And you've taught me not to base what you think the outcome of a Supreme Court case is going to be on the type of questions that they ask. It's in some ways a fool's errand. At the same time, when I got Elena Kagan wondering why Colorado gets to decide the presidential election, one state gets to decide what 50 states ought to decide, that has to give me hope that this is a slam dunk.
Well, I'm basing my view on personal experience, Matt. When my case was being argued in the United States Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg asked some very pointed questions that were very much in favor of my client. And I walked out of there saying, we got Ginsburg.
If you got Ginsburg,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're going to destroy this thing.
And she not only dissented in a rare moment, she read her entire dissenting opinion from the dais at the Supreme Court when the decision was announced. So I have personal experience about this, man.
You're like, I misread that one. You still won the case, but you misread it.
Missed it by that much.
All right, well, let's talk about, I understand this is where the law and politics intersect, these special prosecutors and all of this, but this is fascinating. The cases, you could put a note card in between the difference between, in my estimation, between what Joe Biden's being accused of doing and what Donald Trump was accused of doing. But the difference in the manner in which they handle these cases is astronomical. And they want to pretend that the American people don't notice this. Let's talk about this case. What interests you out of what came out of the special counsel report yesterday?
Well, for one, this special counsel acted like a prosecutor is supposed to. There is a guidebook for Department of Justice lawyers, man, that says when you're supposed to charge somebody or not. And it basically says you should only do that if you believe there is a good chance you will get a conviction. You shouldn't charge somebody if you don't believe you could get a conviction. And that's what this guy said basically was he's guilty, but I don't think we can get a conviction because he's such a pitiful guy. The jury's going to feel sorry for him. So even though he's guilty, I don't think we should charge him. That's it in a nutshell.
And the White House doesn't seem to like that analysis very much on any front.
Well, it helps them legally. I guarantee they're feeling a lot better than if he had recommended that he be charged. Right?
But because if he's charged, they can't. What would happen? Would they have to just sit on it until he leaves the presidency?
That's exactly right. Because the Department of Justice, for the long term, well, since Watergate, has said that the sitting president cannot be indicted. Even if he if he robs a bank, you just can't indict him. So yes, if he had recommended that he be charged, they sit back and say, okay, well, we got to wait till he's no longer the president.
And that was part of the determination, is that at that point you're going to have this 80-something-year-old pitiful old man who can't remember anything, who couldn't remember anything while he was being interviewed, and just no jury's going to look at this pathetic old man and convict him.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if they say no jury, but we think it'd be extremely hard to get a conviction. And so based on the guidelines that apply to federal prosecutors, we recommend that we don't charge him, even though he's guilty. They clearly said he was guilty.
So, it's going to surprise a lot of people, and I want you to kind of double down on what you just said, that this prosecutor, for me, I'm a black and white guy, Jay. You know me, right? So if he's guilty, and if the prosecutor finds the evidence of his guilt, that he believes that he's guilty, he believes, why in the world do we expect our prosecutors to get into the arena of considering what a jury may or may not do with the evidence that's right there before us? We would think, I think most people would think, well, if he finds that evidence, then it is his duty to then move forward with the prosecution. But you're saying that it's not that simple.
Well, you say you live in a black and white world. I'm certain that you have been pulled over for speeding before, haven't you, man?
I have, yes.
Probably on that little motorcycle.
Maybe once or twice. I don't know.
And you were speeding, weren't you?
I was, Jay. I have been speeding, yes.
And the police officer didn't write you a ticket.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He did the right thing, didn't he, man?
Well, I don't know.
At that moment, when he got in his cruiser and drove away, and you're putting your helmet on, cranking up that little fancy motorcycle, you're praying, you're thanking God and saying that it was a nice police officer.
Well, right, but because that police officer, let's take it a step further, because that police officer gave me a break.
Mm-hmm.
He said,
Yes.
I'm going to do you a favor.
Yes. Yes. You said that exactly right, man. You have been listening to me all the years, haven't you?
Right. And so but right now I'm watching a press conference in front of the White House, in the White House press room, where the White House is saying that this prosecutor didn't do them a favor, didn't give them a break, that this prosecutor concluded that they didn't do anything wrong.
Well, that's a lie. That's a lie.
Maybe the cop just thought you were too demented and out of your mind to prosecute.
No, Jay knows very well that cop told me that I was too pretty to go to jail.
Oh, right.
He said it'd be like throwing meat to lions. Oh, wait, I cut him off. I didn't mean to do that. Jay, what'd you say? I accidentally hit the whole button.
Yeah, I think he said you had a pretty man.
And Jay St. Clair's with us. If you have any questions for Jay regarding these or any other legal matters, it is time to ask said questions. You can either dial us up at 615-737-9986, or better yet, throw them in on the super text line and we'll get to them. 615-737-WWTN. Several people have already asked about the Hawaii nullification argument with regard to the Second Amendment, and we'll get into that with Jay at some point during the proceedings today. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Friday. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here for Tennessee Men's Clinic. Let's discuss your energy levels. Gentlemen, are you feeling sluggish, run down? Are you feeling not yourself? Do you just say, well, Murph, it happens. When you reach middle age, when you reach our age, 50 or so, then you get tired in the afternoons. You want to take a nap or whatever. Well, it doesn't have to be that way, and you don't have to feel that way. And if you're feeling tired or sluggish, if you're feeling grumpy, if you've noticed weight gain, if you've noticed loss of muscle mass, or have had a decrease, yes, I'm going to go ahead and say it, decrease in sex drive, you need to get with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, because they can help you with anything and everything involving any aspect of what I just talked about. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has been doing it for the last 10 years now. For 10 years, they have been the central part of men's health in Middle Tennessee, and they want to help you. They have a new office location in Cool Springs, so wherever you are within the sound of my voice, you're within a short drive to the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go by online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com and find out some of the different aspects of what they do to get men that energy, that motivation, and that drive that they've had all of their lives that maybe they've lost. It's time to know those numbers and get back with that energy and that motivation with Tennessee Men's Clinic. Call today for an appointment, 615-208-9090, 208-9090. I see my friends. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, gather around your radios and celebrate, for it's Friday. Thank you to all of those weekend warriors out there, the police officers, first responders, firefighters, every single one of you that make our weekends possible, including restaurateurs, convenience store workers, all of you folks that are working on the weekends so that we can enjoy our weekends. Thank you. We appreciate you. It's 26 minutes after the hour. And I don't know about you. I don't know about you, Jay, but I'm feeling the spirit of aloha right now. I am feeling the spirit of aloha in my bones. Have you seen this case out in Hawaii? I've
got it pulled up on the computer right now, man.
So the judge writing for the Hawaii Supreme Court, Justice Todd Edens, it was a case regarding Second Amendment rights and the right to keep and carry and have a firearm, I guess, without a permit. He says that regardless of what the U.S. Supreme Court says and regardless of what the U.S. Constitution says, that we hold that in Hawaii, there is no state constitutional right to carry a firearm in public. The spirit of aloha clashes with a federally mandated lifestyle. Yeah. What say you about this, Jay St. Clair?
I'm looking at that exact sentence right there. Man, the 21st century has not turned out like I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be an onward and upward movement, that everything was going to get better. We were going to get close to the Star Trek reality.
Right.
Where everything was colorblind and there was no money and let's see, imagine there's no people. I think it was that philosopher John Lennon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it ain't working out that way. And I still don't have my Jetson car.
No.
And so I don't
know. There you go. Your Jetson car just blew up, according to Bill Kenny.
So, it'll quickly be overturned, but they had to go to the United States Supreme Court to do it. It reminds me, you remember we had this crazy politician down here in Alabama. I don't know if you ever got in a fist fight with him or not. Well, Roy Moore, I think he ran for governor or something. People may know him. And so he got kicked off the Alabama Supreme Court for putting the Ten Commandments up in the Supreme Court building. And the federal judge told him to take it out. And he said, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm not going to do it. I don't have to, as the Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court, I do not have to follow a rule that I disagree with.
That was his argument. That was his argument almost in its totality.
No, it was. It says, you're wrong, therefore I'm going to ignore your order. And you know who else said that one time? Andrew Jackson.
Really?
Old Hickory. Oh, yeah. I've forgotten what the details were. You may be able to find it. But in some case went to the Supreme Court. And, I love Andrew Jackson. Folks, if y'all hadn't been to the Hermitage, you got to go to the Hermitage. It is remarkable. And I've forgotten who the justice was, Judge Jackson, whoever wrote it. And so Andrew Jackson, he was in a fit of fury after the decision, man. He said, well, Judge Jackson's issued his opinion. Let's see him enforce it.
It was 1832, Worcester versus Georgia. Jackson allegedly said, quote, John Marshall has made his decision. Now, let him enforce it.
Now, that's old Hick.
It was involving Georgia's attempt to remove or to apply state law to Cherokee land. Mm-hmm. Let him enforce it. Right. Well, and the point being is that you can make any decisions you want, but you're going to be hard pressed to force me to do something that I don't want to do that I think is wrong. I get it.
No, that attitude's been around a long time, and it's kind of a frontier American attitude that if a court decides a case that I disagree with, I'm just going to ignore them. Well, that's a good way to end up in prison. I mean, that's the way that movie normally ends.
Well, and this is the way that this story ends. I was just looking at this here on my handy-dandy Google machine, that apparently after proclaiming let him enforce it, and ignoring the court's decision for a period of time, Jackson later issued a proclamation of the Supreme Court's power to decide constitutional questions and emphasized that its decisions had to be obeyed.
Uh-huh. Yep.
In other words, he cooled off.
Crow is a dish best eaten warm.
Well, go ahead and take care of it. All right, so you don't. I mean, a lot of folks are looking at this, going, "What in the world?" But it's just that it's a "what in the world" moment, and it'll cost a little money, and some lawyers will have to fly from Hawaii to the Washington D.C. to the Supreme Court. But ultimately, you believe that the courts will say, "No, you can't just ignore the Second Amendment."
You are absolutely correct, man.
All right, 31 after the hour. Jay is here for your questions, and I've got a good amount of them already. Jerry's here, Rick's here, George is here, and a lot of questions coming in on the Super Talk text line. So get yours in, and we'll fire them off at our legal correspondent, life consultant, and gambling buddy, Jay St. Clair on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you, plus Jay St. Clair is here as well. We appreciate Jay spending some time with us. I get these invoices on a weekly basis, and I immediately pay them. I might pay it off in the next 24 hours. You never know. You never know what might happen over the next 24 hours. I don't know, but we'll find out together. 36 after the hour as we continue with the Matt Murphy Show. Jerry has a question about a DUI, and Jerry, you're on with Jay St. Clair. How are you, sir?
Oh, good. Thank you. I appreciate your show here. I have just wondering about a clarification if it's true or not. You hear stories. Someone maybe has a couple of drinks, maybe gets overserved or not, but it's time to leave wherever they've been drinking. And they get in their car and decide not to drive, but they put the key in the ignition so they can turn on the radio. I've heard that you can actually get a DUI in that situation because the key's in the ignition. And if that is true, does it make a difference if you're parked on a public street or, say, on private property premises, possibly outside a bar?
That's a great question, and yes, those situations do arise. This is drive Matt nuts because this is in that gray area of the law. A lot of that will depend on what a judge will do. And there may be cases going both ways in Tennessee. The ultimate test is whether you have or dominion over the car, whether you're the one that's actually driving the car. So yes, it's possible to be charged in that situation. I prefer to think that unless that person is engaged in some other kind of behavior that really upsets the prosecutor, they'll probably, well, for instance, if they have some prior DUI, that's going to be a problem. Or if they created a scene at the bar or, committed some other kind of offense, that's going to be a problem. But, if they just say, look, I wasn't going to drive, I just need to turn the heat on and the radio on, and I wasn't intending to drive. It's going back to what we were talking about earlier. We're tearing up a ticket.
I have, Jerry, I don't know, and Jay, I don't mean to jump in here on top of you, but I remember a case in Alabama, and you might remember it too. And Jerry, I don't know what it is in Tennessee, but in Montgomery, Alabama, there was a case like you're describing where the individual decided that he was too drunk to drive home, left the bar, got in the back seat of his car, and went to sleep. The police were alerted that there was a guy in his car or something or another. I don't know how the police became aware of it. They went to him, knocked on the door. He got out of the car. Because he had his keys in his pocket, they charged him with a DUI. Right. Because they considered that he was in operation of the vehicle because he had the ability to leave. Now, what I would love to see, and this is what Jay was alluding to, is a world where the cops recognize that they need to detain this guy or keep him separate from the car. The cops would tell you, the police would tell you, Jerry, the reason they have to do that is because if they leave, if they say, okay, well, you sleep it off, and don't drive till you sleep it off, okay? And then they leave. And the guy then, because he's awake now, goes, well, I'm just going to go ahead and drive home. And then he kills somebody. The cops are then liable.
Right. Yeah, and just because he got arrested doesn't mean he was convicted.
Right.
And you're right, Matt, that a lot of times they may be doing that for the person's own safety. At that point, but the safest place for that guy could be may be the Hooscow. But that doesn't mean you're going to end up being convicted.
And I remember having a conversation with somebody, I forget who it was, and I'm saying, well, what are you saying the guy should do? Lock his keys in the trunk? And you know what he said? Said, yeah. That if he had put his keys in the trunk of the car and closed the trunk of the car, then he was no longer in operation of the vehicle. And if he does not have his keys, then the cops don't have any justifiable reason to detain him, which is, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he was telling me.
What's the caller's name, man?
Jerry.
Jerry, I have some very good news for you. I have available to me by text a absolutely world-class legal scholar on criminal law, and he might whisper into my ear what he thinks the controlling principle is in Tennessee. I won't be able to get that right now, so we'll have it after the break. But here's the deal. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all thing. At the end of the day, you might get arrested just for your own safety. That doesn't mean you're going to be convicted.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good info. I've thought about it several times.
You can also and I think Jay and I have some similar sources sometimes. And my source tells me, Jay, I don't know if you've seen the same thing, that in Alabama, Jerry, you can get a DUI on a horse. How about that?
Well, I guess too, if you're boating and drinking, which seems to go hand in hand, and you get a DUI in a boat, it goes against your driving record.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what else? You know what you can get a DUI for in Tennessee?
What's that?
Particularly on Nashville? Driving a lawnmower.
That's
well, I'm guilty. I'll just admit it. I'm guilty.
The possum.
I saw the. Thank you, Jerry, for the call. Let me see if I can remember it, Jay. I saw the blue lights flashing, and so I pulled on over. And the officer said to me, "Get off that riding mower." That's good. George wants to ask a question about concealed carry. Hey, George, how are you?
Hey, man, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great, man. Hope you are.
Okay, I've turned the radio down a bit. Are you getting any feedback?
No, you're good. You sound great.
Oh, good. I don't want to mess you up there. About a week ago Monday, I asked somebody about a concealed carry question, and he said it would be a good idea to bring it up on Friday. I'm wondering if you go into a store that has a sign that says you cannot carry a concealed weapon in the store, and then something, God forbid, bad happens and you get shot, can you in turn around and sue the store due to them not providing adequate security?
Yeah, on this show, we try not to ask the question, can you sue? Yeah, you always can sue. So let's look at this from 50,000 feet in order to do that. Private property rights trump the Second Amendment because Second Amendment only applies to the government. It doesn't apply to store owners. Store owners are absolutely within their right to say no firearms in my building. They absolutely have the right. So your question is, well, what if I go in a building and I get shot? Can I then sue the store for me being shot in their store? Because if I had let me bring my weapon, I wouldn't have gotten hurt. Is that your question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the answer is yeah. You can sue them. Whether you win depends really on the facts. The question is whether the store should have been on notice that there were dangerous people in the store. And if they knew that, then they have an obligation to protect the safety of their customers. I had this case when I was clerking for Judge Merritt when I was up in Nashville. It involved hotels, where people would break into hotels and harm the tenants that were staying there. People sleeping overnight in the hotels get robbed or shot or what. And they were suing the hotel. Well, the question was, should the hotel owner have known that his hotel was dangerous? And if he did, he had a duty to protect his patrons. Same rule applies here. If it's over on the bad part of town, and they're getting broken into a lot, and there's a lot of people getting hurt, then yeah, they got some exposure. If it's over in Brentwood, where Matt lives, or what's the fancy place over there? Anyway, over in some fancy part of town,
Belmead, yeah.
Belmead. Yeah. If it's over at Belmead, where trouble never happens, well, they didn't have any reason to believe you were going to get hurt in their store, so they're probably not liable.
So it depends on the specific circumstances.
That's exactly right. So often the case in the law, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. The question is, should they have known that their place was dangerous? And if they should have, then they have a legal duty to protect the people coming in.
George, I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
yes, sir.
guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate your call. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN if you got a question for our man Jay St. Clair. Wendy writes in and says, is it just me or does Matt start talking like Jay when he has Jay on? Yes, I do. Jay, so yes, my Southern accent comes out when I'm around my friend, my brother, my life consultant and gambling buddy Jay St. Clair. I admit that.
What? Are you suggesting I have a Southern accent?
Not me, Jay. Wendy. Wendy has suggested as she has thrown this on the table for your. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what she's talking about, Jay, but she is suggesting that maybe you have a Southern accent.
I don't know if any of your listeners are from East Tennessee, but the first time I met a guy from Burville, it was my freshman year at the University of Tennessee, man. I could not understand a word he was saying. And I looked, my roommate was from Sevierville, which isn't far from Burville. And I looked at him and I said, does he have a mouthful of rocks? I can't understand a word he's saying.
Talking like he's got marbles in his mouth.
Now that's a Southern accent.
And no doubt. 2660. Can the Tennessee General Assembly, I'm assuming, create a law to punish employers of illegal immigrants?
Absolutely. In fact, they probably have one. If they don't, they should.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely can make that criminal. It's a crime under federal law. And a lot of states have done that too. So, yes, the answer to that, sir, is yes.
How much money, this is from 3296, how much money can you make selling Mary Kay from home if you're on disability? Live in Tennessee. Man, oh, man, I love our listeners. I don't know why I love it so much, but I do. So I
think what he's asking is this. What amount of income will disqualify you from receiving the disability payments that you're receiving? And then the question is, well, what kind of disability payments are you getting? If it's a Social Security disability, you don't have to look at that. You can find it on the internet. It's a fairly low threshold. I want to say around $20,000. I don't know if it's state disability, I'd have to look at that. I just haven't looked at that in a while, but you can find it. If you're talking about SSI or Social Security disability, you can find that on the internet. I'm going to say it's around $20,000 a year. And it doesn't matter if it's Mary Kay.
Right, yeah, it could be anybody. Just any amount of income that you're bringing.
I wouldn't do it selling Mary Jane.
Well, that's true. That's different. Mary Kay, Mary Jane, they're two very different clienteles as well.
You get into separate issues.
2703 says, Jay doesn't have an accent. He talks perfectly normal. Matt normally talks like a Yankee until Jay comes on, and he immediately starts talking normal, too.
When I went to school up in the Northeast, and people said, well, I love your accent. I said, ma'am, I don't have an accent. I sound exactly like everybody I know. So.
Real quick before the break, 7866 wants to know, Jay, what is your track weapon at Barber Motorsports?
I drive a 2002 C5Z06 Corvette, and I love it. Absolutely love the car. It is a perfect platform for this. I hired 2 professional drivers to drive the car because I wanted to know what they could do with it. And one of them turned on 1 minute 37.8 seconds, which is fast. Anything under 140 is fast. The other one turned a 138.1 bell. I can't help myself. I'm pleased to report that my fast lap in my C5Z06 Corvette is 138.8.
Is that with or without the documents in it?
You think you're funny.
That is fun.
You're both laughing.
Well, I get it. We're showing a little, that's a little charity laugh. All right, Jay, we'll finish up on the other side. 150 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 57 after the hour, very, very light on time. Jay St. Clair is with us for a few more moments. We appreciate his being with us for the entire hour. It is Friday after all. I'll get to as many of your questions as humanly possible as we don't have a lot of time. But, Jay, we'll go to this one real quick. My son has a one-time criminal history. He did his time, finished probation, and wants to vote. Can he vote in Tennessee? Now, I asked the question, is it a felony? And the super texter said yes, that it was a felony, and I think there's
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yep, that's a disqualifier. Nope, he can't.
And I want to say, and I can help you out 5111 further when we're off air, but I want to say that there's a certain process that you can go through to try to get your voting rights restored in the state of Tennessee, but you have to go through that process. You don't just get them back once you've done your time.
That's exactly right. You said that just right, man.
Josh wants to talk about concealed carry, and I think we got about 2 minutes to do it. Josh, you're on with Jay St. Clair. What's on your mind?
All right. First, if I walk to a business that has a no firearm sign and I disregard it because I want to be able to protect myself, one, can I get in trouble for that? Two, if I disregard that sign, something happens in there where I become the hero of the day, what can happen to me then?
So I happen to know this, Jan. I don't want to get in front of you, but I know that in the state of Tennessee that there is a provision under the law by which there's some subsection of the law that presents that it is a misdemeanor offense for you to violate the signage. However, I don't know of a single case since I've been in the state of Tennessee, and I can't get anyone to cite me a single case where anyone has been criminally prosecuted for, quote-unquote, violating the sign. It's really a don't ask, don't tell circumstance, Josh, in most situations.
Yep. You took the words right out of my mouth. We've talked about this for years, haven't we, man? Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah. Josh, I'm sorry to do it, but that's going to be it on time. Jay, you know how much I enjoy these hours together. I appreciate you. Maybe, just maybe, we'll see one another soon. You never know.
Hope so, brother.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. There's our man, Jay St. Clair. We have the music in the background, and that means that we are done. But, oh, my goodness, we got another hour to go, and it's a very special Super Bowl edition of Friday Mac Attack on Super Talk 99.7 WT, and he'll let his hair down right after the news. Hair up for the news, down for Friday Mac Attack. That's coming up next on Super Talk.
Two o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, 58 degrees. Some light showers falling right now in Music City, and expecting that for the duration of the weekend. We got a full forecast that'll tell you all about it coming up in 2 minutes. President Biden in a late-night press conference criticizing the special counsel report concerning classified documents he had in his possession. The special counsel's report on Biden exonerating the president over the mishandling of classified documents, concluding no criminal charges are warranted, but raising questions about his memory. Here's Rick Klein.
The bottom line is you have a special counsel that's saying, look, we didn't prosecute or didn't decide to prosecute in part because we don't think a jury would convict because he would seem to be too old and potentially his memory being so poor that he couldn't have had malicious intent. That is a heck of a thing to come from a special counsel, from now official position officially put out by the Justice Department. The Biden team pushes back on it, but here's the danger, and I think it reinforces something that we've seen in polls and in talking to voters around the country. There are concerns about his age and his mental abilities. They've been reinforced also by things that he has said and done on the trail.
Back here in Tennessee, many of us had our phones go off last night after the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issued a blue alert for a man wanted in connection to the death of a Blount County deputy. Kenneth DeHart, 42, wanted with first-degree murder among other serious crimes. TBI reports deputies with the Blount County Sheriff's Office initiated a traffic stop on an SUV on Sevierville Road in Maryville, and the driver, identified as DeHart, would not cooperate when asked to get out of the vehicle. A taser was used with no effect. DeHart then took out a handgun, fired shots at deputies. Two officers were shot last night. The sheriff says Deputy Greg McGowan was killed. Another female deputy was shot in the leg. She returned fire. The female deputy, Deputy Eggers, was treated and released from a hospital. And a break in the case of a shoplifting suspect accused of shooting a tourist in New York City and fleeing the scene. Here's Derek Dennis.
Sources with the NYPD tell ABC News they've identified a suspect accused of shooting a tourist after being busted for shoplifting at a store in New York City's Times Square. Sources say he's a teenager already wanted in the Bronx over an unsolved robbery. The shooting Thursday night started when store security confronted the suspect and 2 others for trying to steal. Surveillance video shows the suspect dressed in all white, opening fire at the guard, but missing, shooting an innocent tourist from Brazil in the leg instead. Police say they gave chase and the suspect fired at officers and was able to get away. Authorities say they plan to file attempted murder charges.
And that is the latest news. Weather and traffic next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Let's talk for a moment about your personal safety when it comes to being out and about, okay? Because Brink Fiddler and Defense Systems, it's what they do. They want to make sure that you're as safe as possible if you're in a group of people, if you're in a school or a church or a place of business, wherever you might be, Brink can assist you. Now, he wants to talk to you decision makers because he wants to eventually talk to those who work in your facility. Defense Systems is a life safety and security consultation firm based right here in Middle Tennessee. That's important. They do active shooter response training in your workplace or in your school or in your church. They do site surveys and threat assessment, security improvement consultation, emergency and intruder action plans, rapid response, medical training, all customized for your facility and for your staff. It's what it's all about. The possibility of you experiencing workplace violence is very, very low. But it's not zero. It's not zero. And if it's not zero, that means the possibility exists. And that means that hope is not a plan. It is time to get trained up with Defense Systems. Contact them today at defensesystems.com or give them a call. Talk to Brink or one of his teammates, and they will get an appointment scheduled jiffy quick with you at your facility. 615-236-6484. 236-6484 for our friends at Defend Systems. You want some good news? I have some good news. It is Super Talk 99.7 WT, and it's not just Friday. That's good news. That is good news. It's not just 2 o'clock, and we're not just moments away from Friday Mac Attack, which everybody loves.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, Mac.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing great.
I'm a big fan of that jacket. If
You
you're
like this
watching on
jacket?
Super Talk
Thank you.
TV, I'm a big. It's got an old school feel going on.
Yeah, man.
I feel like you cut the hair, you put on a fedora hat, and you're like a dad in the 1960s. I just feel that way.
Get your papers here.
or you could be at the track. I don't know. Here's some good news. I'm not speaking for Mac Morey necessarily because, as Ken Weaver teaches us, sometimes these guys just do the news. But here's the news. Did you see the story? Just broke, Bell.
What?
Good news story.
What is it?
O.J. Simpson has cancer. Yay! What? Am I not supposed to be happy about that? Is that wrong? Is it wrong for me to be happy that a guy that got away with double murder has cancer? Is that wrong? Maybe it's not Christian.
I'm just trying to find my damn good news theme
different.
that somebody has taken off my board.
Your what?
My good news theme that somebody took off the board.
What? Nobody robbed a liquor store on the other
Nobody
side
murdered
of
their
town.
wife and her boyfriend today. What kind of cancer?
Prostate. Hope it's
just
painful.
from having his head up there so much.
Hope it's painful. I mean, I don't, I know I fall short, but I make no bones about it. That, that's good news. Here's the good news: $1,800 for Super Bowl consumption. I don't know what that means.
$1,800 like the tequila?
0397, help me out. $1,800 for Super Bowl consumption / snack. I mean, maybe they are talking about tequila. I don't know.
Tequila?
That leads us right into what we're doing for Friday Mac Attack. Let's go. Woo! There he is. Cougar Chow. You were too young to experience OJ in real time, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
obviously.
For
Yeah.
sure.
But you've kind of, have you
I've
gone
watched
back?
the docs,
taken a
gone
look?
back. Yeah.
Such garbage.
Yeah, he had already
Terrible.
been found liable and innocent criminally and liably civilly before he was even born.
Yeah, well, that's true. I remember. I guess I should know that because I distinctly remember being in college and watching the Bronco chase in college with my roommate Caleb Boyd, and then later on, months later, I was sitting outside of the radio station on my college campus at West Georgia in Carrollton, Georgia, when they read the verdict, and I was listening to it on the radio. Could not believe it. I mean, what a wild! I mean, how wild is that? They found a bloody glove on his property, behind the fence where he climbed over the fence to avoid being seen by the limo driver. They found blood on his socks that belonged to Nicole Brown Simpson. They found blood in the Bronco. They couldn't admit anything about it.
Overwhelming evidence.
Oh, my Lord. And, they planted all that. Shut up. Anyway, that's not what Friday Mac Attack's here to do. We're here to lighten the mood.
Oh,
it's,
yes.
I feel like it's
You know
kind
what?
of
Next week, let's draft our favorite Mark Furman epithets.
No.
That was only for my news.
No. I was just thinking more broadly. I mean, if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. I mean, which, by the way, in defense attorney circles is brilliant.
Yes.
Absolutely brilliant. What Johnny Cochran did, look, everybody says, he's a scumbag, you got to murder her off. That's what they were there to do. It's up to the prosecution to prove it. That's their job. Yep. And Johnny, the idea of him putting on the glove and him knowing that the chemical that they used on the glove shrank the leather and the fact that it would not fit his hand, just brilliant.
Better 1,000 guilty men go free than one innocent man.
That's
be convicted.
That is the system of government that we have, and it's just about the best one that I can tell you. I mean, our system of justice dictates that guilty people get to go free before innocent people get put in jail. Sadly, that still happens too. McMorey, Super Bowl is this weekend. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Keeping up a little.
You got any snacks planned for your Super Bowl festivities?
I do now.
Besides the one your wife gave you.
I mean, I get up this morning and I'm like, Lord. I was like, what are we doing over here? Well, you know what she did?
She's so nice.
It's a little bit selfish, though. She said, well, I want to do something for Mac, but I also want to fix us something for Sunday for Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But we don't want, I'm trying to lose some weight that I gained over the holidays. And so I don't want it in the house for a week.
Yeah, you don't want a tub of Rotel dip.
And so you're the beneficiary of that.
Salsa, Rotel dip.
But I don't care. I got home from a gathering of people at John Rich's house last night.
Yeah, I saw that picture.
And there they are. There's the crackers with the caramel or whatever the hell she's doing there. Oh my God, it's so good. It's cinnamon.
So good.
And I said, ooh, and she's smacked. I got my hand smacked.
Those are for Mac.
I know. I'm like, whatever.
It's my house.
Yeah, it's my house, my money, come on.
Too bad for you.
No.
I've already eaten a decent amount of those crackers.
All right, if you don't know what we do on Friday Mac Attack by now, you need to listen more often.
Yeah, you just got to catch up.
Come on, people. All right, we do drafts. And what is our draft subject of the week?
Today, I thought, a little topical. We got the Super Bowl. everyone, you're going to get together. Maybe some of you aren't, but a lot of you are. Even if you're watching it, Super Bowl commercials, we all get some food, right? Whatever it be, Rotel dip, wings, whatever. Let's draft Super Bowl foods.
Yeah!
Come on.
Woo!
Let's go.
Love it.
It's American tradition, right?
Oh, my goodness gracious.
What do you got?
I don't know outside of, I think it beats Christmas. I'm trying to think of the biggest food days on the calendar year.
Yeah. So Thanksgiving.
But I think Thanksgiving's probably good. I don't even know if it's Thanksgiving. I mean, considering the fare, Super Bowl might be number one.
Well, because Super Bowl too, Thanksgiving, the person who's hosting cooks a lot of the food. Maybe a couple other stragglers bring a dish. I'll bring the sweet potatoes. But Super Bowl, everyone's bringing a dish.
Bringing something.
Everyone's bringing something.
Oh, so good.
Oh, it's so great.
Happen to be so hungry right now. Okay, let's get to it. What are you doing in there, Belle? You look all serious.
Yeah, what?
You don't look
Come on, man.
Belle, hello?
I'm working on something.
Oh.
He's probably getting our bed for this segment. He's been working really hard on getting that music together.
Little flow bed.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, sure. He tells us every week that it's going to be,
You were close.
Oh, I was close? Okay. Hey, little draft music.
We have draft music now? My goodness, we've been doing this segment for 3 months. And we got draft music? That's great. We're fancy.
Belle's Googling NFL draft tune.
All right, let's get the draft order
Yes,
going.
I actually did do that.
Yeah,
NFL draft chime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, let's get the draft order going. Let's do this thing. Ready? Belle, you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go. Yeah!
Dang it.
Woo! I don't know if you guys know, but I'm drafted number 1.
All right, Belle.
Oh, this is tough.
Belle, 1 or 2?
2.
All right, I'll go 3rd. Dang it.
I don't know if you're going to get what you wanted.
No.
Belle, I don't know if you're going to get what you wanted. You're going to get, it's going to get past me.
Okay, do you know the last time I was actually at a Super Bowl?
Well,
he wouldn't eat anything.
It was okay.
Oh, yeah, because you didn't eat anything.
And before that, I'd never been to one. So I have no idea what people eat at Super Bowl parties.
That's sad.
So this is going to be, is going to
That's so sad.
We should just
Murphy,
stop.
this is a fun draft. Super Bowl, who likes it more?
We should just stop this segment. Go give Belle a hug.
Seriously.
Jeez.
No.
Jason says, I bet Mac likes little wieners. Little Smokies are good.
Little Smokies.
I think that's what you're talking about there. Obviously.
All right, that counts as Mac's first pick.
All right. The number 1 pick in the 2024 Super Bowl food draft is in. Look, let's not overthink this. Let's not be silly here. There's a team on the board, and we're pulling them off, and it is hot wings. Come on!
No!
Nobody. Come on.
No.
Hot wings, baby.
Oh.
All flavors, shapes, and sizes.
My draft's ruined.
I got the flats. I got the drummies.
Yeah,
I got,
you got it all.
And if you want to come over to my house later and eat the dregs, you can. But I got the hot wings. Belle, where
There
you
you
going?
go. Oh, hold on.
Oh, yeah. We're not doing anything. Oh, yeah, there you go. I love this.
Number 2 selection in the 2024.
Nachos.
Nachos.
Yeah, nachos is really good.
That's good. It's okay.
It's a good one.
So, but you're talking about not like the thing of nachos.
Yeah.
With the stuff and all
Loaded
that. Yeah, loaded
meat.
nachos. Okay, sure.
Peños.
Because I don't want to exclude other things that are going to require
oh, yeah, we can. Yeah,
chips.
no. Dips, chips and dip. That's
I
can't
I
believe
agree.
it.
That's completely separate.
I think it's on the board there. The number 3 selection in the 2024 Super Bowl snack food draft. Mac Morey is on the clock.
Oh. So we got a lot of dips. Obviously, that's going to take up a lot of our second and third round. I'm going to wait. There's a bunch of good dips to get. I'm going to take this one off. You took wings. I'm going to take the next closest entree I can get. I'm going to take pizza.
Yeah, that's good.
Pizza's great.
Good. That's good.
I was deciding whether to take nachos or pizza.
No, that's kind of it, right? Yeah.
Solid entree.
Yeah.
That's solid good. And it just opens the door wide for Matt Murphy in the second round of the 2024 Super Bowl snack draft. Team Murphy selects Rotel dip. Thank you very much.
No,
that's right.
that's
You had the chance.
Erica, I'm sorry.
I don't even know what that is.
It's cheesy. It's got rotel in it, which is tomatoes, and I think there's some onions in there, like some.
So it's sort of like a kind of queso.
It's kind of a queso.
Yeah, it's a queso.
Okay.
Yeah,
for
rotel
sure.
dip is like a queso, and it's got some sausage in it when Erica makes it. So the backstory is Erica. One of the things that she gave McMurray was rotel dip, and in a big thing, and he goes, "Ooh, I'm gonna pick this in honor of Erica." For the draft today.
I'm drafting
and
that.
you just slapped him with it.
Yeah. Well, he skipped it. I mean, he could have had it during the first round.
Fair enough.
I mean, Papa John's beat you, honey. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that, know what?
That's gratitude right there.
The Noid beat you. That is a dated reference that McMurray has no idea what I'm talking about right now.
Erica, don't even bother next year.
I
It's
know.
just the kind of respect
As
you
a
get.
matter of fact, I love you so much, honey. I'm taking it all home.
Too late. It's in my fridge.
You already took
Yeah, I
it
already
home.
took it
Did you
home.
take it home?
That's fine.
Yeah, I secured it.
All right. Second pick.
Trust in you as a fellow general manager.
Second pick. Yeah. What are you trusting me? No,
My opponent.
In the world of the draft.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
Yes, it is. But hold on. Backboard. Team Maury calls up Team Murphy's like, hey, guy, listen.
I really like this prospect.
I really like this prospect. I'm really thinking about drafting him, but I don't want to draft him first in the first round. So
Can you just wait?
if you could just slide by, let him slide by, and I'll just take him in the second round. He's a really good prospect. You love him.
You
You've
really like
established
him.
You really like him, but
I know the other GM hasn't done the study, so
the other GM's about to pick Brussels sprouts or something. Bell? I'm sorry. We're just having fun in here.
my fault.
In honor of Travis and Taylor being flaming liberals, I'm going to go with Bud Light.
That's funny. I told you.
that was really good. That's great.
You weren't here. We had this discussion, and I told him that Bud Light is obviously going to end up an undrafted free agent. There's no reason to pick Bud Light. You're wasting a draft choice, and he got him anyway. Like you're drafting a punter. What are you doing? What are you doing drafting a punter? All right, go.
Well, you took my rotel.
I did. I got wings and rotel. I feel good.
Yeah, you feel great.
The world is my oyster.
I'm gonna do
Oyster crackers.
Oyster crackers. I got a Ziploc bag in there. I'll take 7-layer dip.
Okay, 7-layer dip.
layers
That's
great.
a good one.
That's a classic.
You got to have a dip. You got to have something.
Got to have a dip on your team.
Yeah, you got to go with the dip on the team.
You got to get somebody that really knows how to make that, though. It's got to, you do it right. It's really good.
Yeah, 7-layer spinach dip, same deal. Artichoke dip, same deal.
Yeah.
It's all good. Oh, I love the creamy. But I'm not going to deviate from the master plan that I've got in front of me. Although, I got a cup. You guys are going to say that I'm. There's just so many choices here. I can't have pizza.
Many.
Okay. All right. So.
Also, none of them are healthy. That's the whole thing.
Brian says, avoid the Noid. We're old, Murphy. Where's the beef? And that's true. Avoid the Noid was an advertising campaign long before you were born involving Domino's Pizza. The Noid was this little guy. It was
that would mess up your pizza. It was supposedly he was what you got from the other companies if you didn't Domino's avoids the Noid. The Noid destroys everybody else's pizza.
Okay. But Domino's doesn't have the Noid. Avoid the Noid.
Yeah.
Was that when Domino's was bad? Wasn't Domino's bad for some time?
Was.
I like Domino's now.
Actually, the Noid was part of their way of introducing the little table in the center of the pizza that kept the top
from smooshing on the pizza. And also, it was a little play on words. Annoyed. You're annoyed.
Yeah.
And they spelled it weird. There's so many different ways to go in this draft. I'm going to... Aaron says Domino's is still horrible, and I would agree with you.
What?
Yeah, without a doubt.
No, I'm not.
No, it's not true.
I mean, but it's not... I wouldn't say it's horrible. It's just chain pizza.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
I mean,
mediocre chain pizza.
I mean, Domino's, Pizza Hut, same deal. Anyway, unless either of those companies want to advertise on the Matt Murphy Show, and
then they're phenomenal.
I love them absolutely.
Yeah, mix and match
ever.
deal. Come over here, Domino's.
Yeah, that's a good question. Gosh, I'm hesitating because I don't know which way to go. I could go something on the dessert side of things.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about that too.
There's other dips to consider.
There's so many good
dips. There's so many dips. There's onion dip. There's artichoke dip. There's spinach dip. There's buffalo chicken. Oh, buffalo chicken dip. There's Buffalo.
I'm monitoring. We are scouting currently.
Maury just looked at me.
I know, dude.
I know.
It's so good.
I know. It's just there's so many prospects. With that in mind, I can't go away from cocktail weenies. So I'm just going to go cocktail weenies. I'm going to be done with them. Cocktail weenies in a big thing with barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
You put them in a bowl. Love them.
It's
Absolutely love them. It's a tradition.
Nasty.
I'm going cocktail weenies. I feel like I can keep my undrafted free agent in reserve, and I'm going to tell you what that is in a moment.
Ooh, okay. Honorable mention.
Bell?
Hold on. Jalapeno poppers.
Oh, those are good. That's a little
That's a
off
good
the
one.
board. That's a little off the board, but I like it. That's in the spirit. Despite the fact that you have no friends and you've never been but to one Super Bowl party and you wouldn't eat when you went to the Super Bowl party, you're doing pretty good. Okay. Congratulations. General manager has no idea what he's doing.
No idea. He's the Browns.
Your third selection, sir, in the 2024 Super Bowl deliciousness draft is...
I thought about desserts too, but I don't think there's like that staple Super Bowl dessert. You know what I mean?
Red cookies, brownies.
Yeah, I mean they're all good, but they're not like Super Bowl. So I'll keep those off my draft. I thought you took Little Weenies, which me and Bell knew he was going to take the Little Weenies. He's very fond.
Love some Little Smokies. So good. They're tasty.
I'm going to take ham and cheese sliders. Sliders.
Boy,
yeah, season the bun.
Okay, so here's the deal. Do you know? You may not know that E has made this thing out of the pan rolls. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
The rolls in the aluminum pan. You take those rolls, you take them out, you slice. You don't separate them.
The whole. Okay,
you slice
gotcha.
the whole thing. Then you put, and she makes this concoction that's garlicky and buttery, and they end up when they come out of the oven, they taste like crystal hamburgers.
Wow.
I have a feeling that Erica could turn into a serial killer and he wouldn't divorce her because of the cooking.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what do you mean turn into? All right, so honorable mention.
Yeah, what do you got?
So veggie tray. I mean, look. I mean, turn your nose up at it. I strongly considered the veggie tray for selection number 3. It's needed to break up.
I need a celery. I need a carrot. I need some ranch. I need something.
Nobody needs any of that.
No.
Whatever. What'd you bring to my house last year?
Jello.
Look at this guy.
I mean, you got veggie tray. You got
Wicked 180 Jello.
any number of dips that we could go with. Oh.
Yeah, but didn't belong in the draft, though. But that is a good honorable mention. I don't think you should have drafted it, but veggie tray needed.
And then you got to have some dessert, but you're right. There's just not a standout.
Yeah, and super texters, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's like the Super Bowl dessert. Like this is it.
There's always cake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cake.
Sure.
Yeah. That's great.
What about Lena says? What about a big sub? I'm a big fan of a big sandwich.
Love that. Yeah, you can cut it up into little ones for everyone.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of play going on right now on the super text line. I'll get to some of that in a moment. And
perfect.
After the news, if I might. I don't want to step on the Brian Wilson wide world of sports toes here because I was listening to you yesterday. I want just a little breakdown. Can I have a little something?
Absolutely, a little taste.
With Brian Wilson's permission. I just want a little taste of what we can expect later on in the wide world of sports. It's 225 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Are you experiencing pain? I was to the point where, I love playing golf. I get out on the golf course as much as I possibly can. Haven't been on quite as much as I've wanted to over the winter months. But I got to a point where I was not playing golf because of the pain in my back. And, it was changing the way that I lived my life, and I did not want that to happen. And so I communicated with the Dr. Gill Center almost as soon as I came into Nashville. And before you know it, my upper neck pain is gone. Thank you, Dr. Gill. Thank you, Dr. Wendy, and the rest of the team at the Dr. Gill Center. Gone because they identified a spinal compression, and they decompressed my spinal compression. They had that technology. As a matter of fact, Dr. Gill brought that technology to Middle Tennessee decades ago. Now they've got the Class 5 laser system, the red light therapy, in addition to the spinal decompression, in addition to all of the chiropractic care that many of you have come to know and enjoy. If you're in pain for whatever reason, stop taking pills and call the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. 615-882-4838. 882-4838. 38 for the Dr. Gill Center. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Dr. Gill.
An update on President Biden as we update in his handling of classified materials and some crime in Tennessee. An 18-year-old arrested in connection with a double homicide. 2:30 Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
That's the voice of a man that's been focusing on Super Bowl food for the last 30 minutes and not the news. It's 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm going to give Mac Maury a moment or two to reassert himself in the newsroom and remind, oh my goodness gracious, some of the response. I don't think we've ever gotten a bigger response, and we get a big response every time we do Friday Mac Attack. I don't think we've gotten a bigger response than this one. Super Bowl lineup: sausage balls, Lil Weenies, Rotel, chicken, buffalo chicken tub. I don't even know what that means. And to top it all off, KC-style ribs. Go Chiefs. Right, it's 54-7.
Heck yeah, I should have thought about that.
And someone wrote in, and it reminded me of Calvin. Anybody see Django Unchained when Calvin Candy says, "Gentlemen, you had my curiosity, and now you have my attention." This woman is talking about microwave fudge. I don't know what that means, but I want it in my life. Microwave fudge. How about this? 4266 says a barbacuterie board. All smoked meats and finger foods. Ribs, sausage, cracker bologna, and brisket. I'm all in. I'm coming to your house. Coming to your house. 4857 said, we always do the two teams colored cupcakes for dessert. That's actually pretty cool.
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah, that's cool. And there's Mac Maury smashing all of the everybody's red. I guess.
Yeah, it'd be hard. You know, last year was Chiefs Eagles, and one of my best friends, Eagles fan, him and his girlfriend, actually, they came over and they watched the game with us, and they all made us cupcakes or whatever, and we were like, oh, that's so nice. You made us some Chiefs cupcakes. And so we bit into them, and it's green filling. And I was like, you jerks. Dang it.
That's brilliant.
No, it was great.
Good.
It was very funny.
Veggie tray is a more socially acceptable way of eating ranch dressing than dipping it out with a spoon, according to Tammy, and that is absolutely right. You got to have that big vat of ranch. Hey, look, guys, I'm eating healthy. All right, here's the real news. We'll get back into some of the real news items of the day. It's Friday. I'm having a hard time doing it, and we'll get an assessment. We will attempt to get an honest and non-biased assessment from our sports guy, Mac Morey, after the newscast as to what he thinks is going to happen in the Super Bowl. That's coming up next. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.232, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 57 degrees and a rainy day and a rainy weekend ahead. Chances for showers every day. Weather forecast on the way in 2 minutes. Speaking at the White House press briefing today, White House counsel spokesperson Ian Sams discussed the results of special counsel Hur's report released yesterday, finding no criminal charges were warranted against President Biden for his handling of classified materials. Sams doubling down on Biden's innocence and saying from the moment the investigation began, Biden allowed complete access to officials for their inspection.
He took unprecedented action to get the special counsel what he needed. He opened up every room in his family home and his beach house for comprehensive FBI searches, a first time in history.
Sam said he thinks it's important to remember that once it was realized that something was wrong, that President Biden did everything that he could to get it right and back and fix the problem. Crime in Tennessee, 18-year-old Rico Das has been arrested in connection with an allegedly targeted double homicide outside of Meigs Magnet School. This happened last night. The shooting ended in the death of two teenagers aged 16 and 17. Das was arrested this morning on an outstanding attempted homicide warrant for shooting another teenager last weekend. Senate leaders in both parties aiming to soon finish work on a bill that funds U.S. allies abroad, even if it doesn't include stronger measures on the U.S.-Mexico border. Stephen Portnoy with the latest.
On a bipartisan basis, the Senate has agreed to take up a foreign aid bill without the compromised border provisions that Republicans blocked earlier this week. GOP leader Mitch McConnell now urges his colleagues to get behind the measure, funding support for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan.
Every single one of us knows what's at stake here.
It remains to be seen whether House Republicans will agree.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Jeff Eddy of Efficient Heating and Cooling taught me very early on in our relationship the best way to head off costly repairs of your heater or your air conditioner, to head off breakdowns, or even more expensive early replacement is to get your maintenance done. I hope that you've already gotten your maintenance done on your heater. But if things are not working properly as they should, there's always time. There's no time like the present. However you want to say it, you can get it done with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Plus, when there's a time for maintenance, you will never be charged over $125, no matter how many units you have. Oftentimes, it's less than that, but Jeff guarantees that $125 is the cap on a maintenance call from Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling. That way, you keep those invoices down. Plus, speaking of invoices being down, they never charge you additional rate on the weekends or in the evening time hours, because Jeff knows that your heater doesn't know what time it is. And so when it goes out at 7 o'clock tonight, it doesn't know that it just cost you more money with some of the other guys. Not so with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. They never charge you those overtime rates. Plus, when it comes time to replace, and when they tell you, you can trust them, they're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric. They're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They can help you make the right selection for you and your family. EfficientHVAC.net. EfficientHVAC.net, or call 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for Efficient. All right, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to talk to you about how you savor some of the flavors that you're going to have over the weekend and how you do so with Savory Spice, right? So we were talking about a lot of food. I mean, whether it's Rotel dip or chicken wings or whatever you're cooking, whatever's on your Super Bowl plate or whatever's on your big game plate, it's time to get with Savory Spice and find out how they can assist you in that regard, because Savory Spice has delicious spices available for you in 2 separate locations. One is in L&L Market over on Charlotte Pike. The other's in Franklin, just off the square. 2 locations to serve you, and at both locations, you have deliciousness at your doorsteps, right? So they've got salts, they've got spices, they've got blends, they've got anything you can imagine to put on some of the food that you'll be serving for the big game. They've got it at Savory Spice. Go by and see them. Tell them that I told you to stop by, and you will absolutely love what they have to offer at Savory Spice. Savory Spice, Holly and David are the owners and operators. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Savory Spice. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 2:40 and a good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. We'll get back to McMurray here in just a moment, get his thoughts on the big game happening Sunday afternoon. In the meantime, there are other news items to get to. Obviously, the Biden administration attempts to spin as desperately as they can a lot of this information coming out regarding what Joe knew and when he knew it. I don't know which is worse, the idea of criminal liability or the political liability that comes along with some of the commentary being made by this special prosecutor, Robert Hur, when he says, Joe Biden doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground, so nobody's going to actually convict him of any of this. It is embarrassing to the highest degree. The Biden administration knows that, and by all accounts, I mean, I don't know of anyone observing the political goings-on over the last several months up to, just during his entire administration, who actually believes that Joe Biden is going to be the candidate. Listen to this. Listen to this. Joe Biden is meeting today with the Chancellor of Germany. This is the President of the United States of America during media availability with the Chancellor of Germany. Listen in.
Today we'll also discuss the work we're going to be doing together to strengthen NATO ahead of the 75th NATO summit this summer here. So you got to come back. And also the latest developments in the Middle East, including today we'll also...
I mean, did anybody understand any of that? He's mumbling, looking down into his lap, reading a note card, and no one understands what the hell he's saying.
I think it had something to do with visiting the Middle East and going to the Baja Peninsula while he was there.
Okay. Maybe. Maybe.
Also discuss the work we're going to be doing together to strengthen NATO.
Ahead of the NATO.
75th NATO summit this summer. So you got to come back. And also the latest developments in the Middle East, including...
Just so gross.
You did hear him make that flub, right?
Yes.
It was genius, wasn't it?
I mean, what a guy.
Mexico won't let... I convinced them to open the borders to Gaza.
This is how Karine Jean-Pierre ended her press conference today.
When can we talk to the president's doctor?
When can we talk to the president's doctor? Well, you know what? She doesn't answer that question, but she was asked this question.
I know that the president's Republican presidential rival, Nikki Haley, has called for a mental competency test for the president. Is that something that the White House is actively considering as a way to try and put to rest some of these allegations about his memory lapses?
I mean, look, I'm not a medical doctor. So certainly I'm not going to stand here and make opine on tests or anything of that nature.
I'm not a medical doctor either. Are you a medical doctor?
I wonder if she can define what a woman is.
I don't think so.
She's not a biologist.
I mean, do we honestly need to be a medical doctor to offer an opinion about how Joe Biden has lost a step or 2 or 8 or 16? If you want to get really scared, Joe Biden was not lighting the world on fire 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. Okay? But if you want to get really frightened, go back to, 2016. And listen as Joe Biden was leaving office as vice president of the United States of America. Now, once again, he wasn't anything to write home about then. But man, oh man, if you want a stark contrast into how he is now and how he was even 6, 7, 8 years ago, go back and listen to some of these remarks or addresses. I mean, forget 30 years ago. Obviously, he made sense 30 years ago. I love how the White House initially, they're not even lying about it anymore. Initially, they were telling us, well, you know, Joe Biden is a lifelong stutterer, and he's had these stuttering problems, and that's what some of these gaffes are all about. They don't even try to lie about that anymore. They used to, right at the beginning of his presidency. Well, he's a stutterer. But you go back 20 years ago, he didn't have these troubles. He didn't have these problems because he did not have the mental problems and the mental struggles that he does now. One more thought on this with Karine, well, maybe two more, with Karine Jean-Pierre lying, and everyone in the room, I just love this. She's lying. Everyone in the room knows she's lying. She knows everyone in the room knows she's lying, yet still she lies.
I mean, look, you saw, your colleagues were, I think, were you in the room, Tyler, yesterday? Your colleagues were, and yourself were able to see the president and ask questions yesterday. He did that, I believe, if not the day before yesterday, he did that a couple of times this week, I think about 3 times, engaging with the press. It's just something that he does pretty often. And we're going to try and obviously pick moments. He's going to, on his own, have moments where he's going to want to walk over and talk to all of you, as he's done many times before. We're going to continue, obviously, to your question, yes, we're going to find many different ways to engage with the press. That's something that we think is very important. It's important to take your questions. It's important to hear from all of you and hear directly what's on the mind of the American people, as well as what we believe is on the mind of the American people. And take
mindless word salad. What everyone in that room knows is that Joe Biden does far fewer interviews, far fewer solo press conferences, far fewer or far less interview availability than any other president in modern American history. Any president since the invention of the radio. Because he can't. Joe Biden, earlier this week, it was revealed, declined the opportunity to do a Super Bowl interview. Now, I don't have anything for Super Bowl interviews. I think they're a little bit goofy. I mean, I do this for a living, and I'm perfectly willing to leave politics aside for one day just to enjoy the culmination of another football season, to enjoy one of the nation's favored pastimes, to come together, as one and all hate on Taylor Swift and root against the Kansas City Chiefs. See, I wanted to see if Mac was paying attention. He was not. So I don't have anything for the Super Bowl necessarily. Or rather, I don't have anything for the president being interviewed during the Super Bowl, that is. But the idea that he can't do it, I don't understand why he wouldn't do it. He's a Democrat. These would be softballs. It's CBS, for goodness sake. Yet he chooses not to. Why? It's not just that he's playing out the string anymore. It's not that he has a year to go or a little less now than a year to go and all will be well. He's asking for 4 more, folks. And there's Americans that will go and vote for him. Yuck. Absolute yucky. All right, let's see if McMurray can't manage in a minute or two to, in an unbiased and neutral way. Why are you shaking your head already?
You lost me at unbiased.
Come on.
What do you think? You're having a difficult time, and you and I have discussed this week. You're having a difficult time not being able to keep yourself from feeling good.
Feeling really good. Exactly.
About what you consider to be the outcome of this game. What are you feeling? Talk to me.
Well, it's hard because you you start to, and I talked about this in my podcast, Behind the Box Score, wherever you find your podcasts.
Oh, yeah, go to Behind the Box Score.
Yeah, released that yesterday. And I talked about
Where's that available?
Spotify, Apple, you go on 1045thezone.com, wherever you get your
What was
podcasts.
it called?
Behind the Box Score.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thank you, Val.
So it's not in front of the box score.
It's behind.
You're behind the
We
box
get behind. We delve deep.
Uh-huh.
But you kind of like galaxy brain yourself. You have 2 weeks to think about this. You think about every scenario. You think about every matchup and every which way this game could go, and you just start kind of overthinking it. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I just wanted to kick off. Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like every analyst that I listen to is picking the Chiefs because they've gone against Patrick Mahomes for 2 weeks, and now they just don't want to be burned three weeks in a row. But Vegas, for whatever reason, has the 49ers favored. And so I'm just kind of going back and forth here. But yeah, I think the Chiefs, I think it's going to be a grinded out game, defensive game. Both sides are going to want to keep time of possession. They're going to run the ball and keep it out of the other offense's hands. I think it's going to be low scoring.
So what would your do you do score predictions?
Yep.
Or will you do a score prediction?
I will do a score prediction, yeah.
All right, are you saving that? I don't want it. Once again,
I'm going to save that for
Brian Wilson.
Save that for Brian Wilson.
You know, we do Friday Mac Attack. He does Wide World of Sports on a daily basis, so I don't want to get in front of him. So if you want McMorrie's prediction for the Super Bowl, that's at 5:25 this afternoon.
5:25, got a score prediction.
There
Absolutely.
you go. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give mine. I think
please. I'd love it.
I predict that the Chiefs are going to win the game 89-3.
Stop. You're not helping me.
What? It's my prediction, pal. I get to predict what I want to predict. God. Bell, you want to offer a prediction? Bell's going to say, bananas.
1,800.
I knew it. I knew it.
Now, honestly, I don't know enough about the specifics of, I don't know the minutia that Mac knows, but emotionally, I want them to win by at least 3, just so that Mac can walk home or walk into work actually on Monday with his head held high, feeling good.
I want him. Yeah, see, I want more to be the cock of the walk on Monday morning.
Yeah,
I don't need that in my life. I don't need a cockier Chris Hand at 9 o'clock in the morning
playing that whatever 49er song he'll have ready.
And you know the worst part about it is Hand doesn't care.
Has no idea.
Does not care. Doesn't know. Doesn't give a rip about any of it. Just wants to see you suffer.
Yes.
He's a mean human being.
Yes.
All right. 51 after the hour. Speaking of mean human beings, Brian Wilson is up next. I kid because I love. We'll talk to Brian right after this. Winding down our time together and handing off to Brian Wilson in mere moments on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's the Matt Murphy Show. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Brian Wilson, I hope you've got big weekend plans, my friend.
I'm gonna practice becoming more and more mean.
I was a little.
I know.
A little birdie told me that you were singing the Grinch song during the break.
Yeah. Well, one has to live up to one's reputation. That's what I said. I think we're gonna go watch. We're gonna stay at home and watch the Super Bowl. Cabana Wife is an amazing cook, and she's gonna do my favorite, which is her chicken wings. And I'm telling you, they are as good as anything you've ever had. I like them. So that's it. No big plans. I'm gonna spend Sunday. I'm actually every once in a while I just carve out a day to go into my music studio and go be musical. So I think I'll do that on Sunday until it's time for the ball game. And, just knock around.
Well, before we get there, we got to get to the drive. What's going on with the drive today?
Well, yesterday on so many different levels was a disastrous, no good, very bad day for the current president of the United States. And this thing that happened last night, just as we were going off the air a little after 7 o'clock, was, eye-popping. And I think it's the death knell for any hope that Joe Biden had of becoming reelected. And we'll get into that in a very deep way in very short order here in the next hour.
Well, looking forward to it. And you're exactly right. As Brian Wilson said, an absolute debacle last evening. And I look forward to listening to Brian Wilson and The Drive. And that's coming up right after Mac Morey's newscast. And that's coming up right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Enjoy Brian Wilson and The Drive. Enjoy your weekend, folks. And we'll talk to you on Monday. Until then, hug your loved ones. So long.